My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. All right, it is currently 1:59 a.m. on Monday, March 10th, 2025. This is documentation of what is the sex offense regarding what is also criminal interference with quiet enjoyment and the obsession with my genitalia. While the elderly that are gang stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments are amplifying audible activity in the bathroom, while an entire entity is focused on what I'm doing inside of that bathroom. That speaks to the sex offender that's inside of this apartment. That speaks to the sex offenders that are going to prison in units 33 through 64. That speaks to the sex offenders, including Linda Reyes and every other employee at Woodside Senior Apartments who are going to federal prison and mental asylums. And that speaks to the entire venue. All 144 units are engaging in the sex offense together. And you're also understanding the uncharacteristic behavior while demons are gang stalking. Okay, it's occurring in the bathroom. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. It's a senior citizen complex. You have what is occurring based on my physical movement, and the demon in the unit is stalking in the path in the kitchen. That's alignment and light activity while amplified noise is happening, and this is also incestuous sexual violence as well. This is P.O.C. It's documentation of impunity. AVANATH Capital Management is going to compensate for the damages for all of that which is unquantifiable when you're recognizing the sexual violence that corrupt companies, gang stalking, and the state are engaging in, and the unprecedented basis of not only prosecution but compensation for such sexual harms. All right, this is a psychological torture that's sexually motivated. Right, there is absolutely nothing that it makes any sense with regard to gang stalking in bathrooms. It's nothing other than predators that are stalking and monitoring. Absolute sex offenders. And this is what the elderly, again, license 5WUB715. This demon's going to a mental asylum. All right, up at 2 o'clock in the morning and stalking somebody inside of your apartment. That is, again, textbook for what is the mentally ill. Okay, I'm going to mental asylums with the rest of the defendants. All the gang stalking households with children are engaged in the sex offense together, and this is the shameful conduct of a bunch of demons that are gang stalking. They tend to stalk you in places like bathrooms. I've shown this at the Ovid Family Community Library, where the fake sun is remaining over that library, and then they walk into the bathroom in engineered light. The demon-possessed are doing this at an apartment complex, and they do it on behalf of the government that has no legitimate interest in what's going on between your legs, whatever it is between your legs, and in bathrooms. That is, again, patently understood as what is sexual violence and perverted. Okay, having a field day, just pacing around, just monitoring, and doing so, again, this is the mentally ill that are engaging in what is the federal group stalking and monitoring, and doing so at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's speaking to the criminal interference with quiet enjoyment, which is also underway inside of the bathroom at the Woodside Senior Apartments. It is currently 2:02 a.m. These are the demon-possessed who are obsessed with my genitalia. They worship my genitalia. They're also psychopaths who are also at the same time hostile, because I want to make sure I enforce my rights about the entity being obsessed with my genitalia, and then also wanting to exhibit what you would understand as severe mental illness, because they also then want to appear to you as just normal people, having nothing to do with the gang stalking pattern of conduct that everybody else is able to see. Okay, so these are the delusional psychopaths who are going to federal prison and mental asylums. The demons that are gang stalking on behalf of and in concert with this hitman that's inside of the unit. speaking to her obsession with my genitalia, speaking to all of my relatives' obsession with my genitalia, and what is this incestuous, sexually perverted attention coming from? These are demons. You're not dealing with what are normal family members. You're not dealing with, your mom or your dad. You're dealing with predators that are demon possessed. So the spirit of Satan makes sex offenders, that makes predators, in case you didn't know. And these predators are gang stalking as an entity. And that's the reason for the amplified noise in the bathroom while I am bent over the toilet, which all of an entity is up spending thousands of dollars, engaging in surveillance in helicopters and stalking in police vehicles, engaged in surveillance by pacing around in the streets, using the resources of corrupt police departments, focusing on me. That it's not just the gang stalking police, but everybody in the neighborhood that's going into the 7-Eleven across the street, that's driving around, stopping at the stop signs. They're all monitoring, and they're all up together monitoring my genitalia, monitoring my amplified noise. This is again how far-reaching this psychotic and sexually perverted conduct reaches outside of those that are going to prison for it at Woodside Senior Apartments. This is an entity of predators, of perverts, and of sex offenders. They're going to prison, though, at Woodside Senior Apartments. Units 33 through 64 are sharing in this sexual violence that's happening at 2 o'clock in the morning. These demons are not asleep, and they're doing the bidding of the perverts that are making up the city of Ontario. It is currently 2:05 a.m. on Monday, March 10th, 2025, and this is P.O.C. This is bathroom monitoring, the perpetual sex offense. When you're subject to criminal monitoring in a bathroom, that's not only unfathomable, it is proven, and it's also perverted. It's predatory. It is absolutely demented. It is the P.O.C., however, of the demon-possessed population that's gang stalking. P.O.C. All right, this is documentation of ongoing psychological torture that AVANATH Capital Management is going to be responsible for when they are civilly and criminally prosecuted for the unprecedented criminal system of federal group stalking and monitoring that is underway, which they are fully engaged in and facilitating, which is unlawful, underway at an apartment complex. And this is disguised as masquerading as a private residence, and it is nothing close to that, nothing remotely related to that. The government is maintaining surveillance and psychological torture in reliance on a population that is demon possessed and is stalking and monitoring and keeping and maintaining a person under surveillance together at what is 11:33 a.m., which also is again occurring with simultaneity to capturing damning evidence. And so what are the demon possessed behavioral pattern? It is also that which is illustrated in the demonic environment, where Satan is maintaining an environment around its demons in order to keep me under surveillance, which is evidenced under an idol fake sun, which is evidenced with the engineered light that's inside of this demon-possessed group stalker's apartment. Very foolish defendant in federal court. Tracy Banks is going to a mental asylum on her ceiling at 11:33 a.m. Engineered light swipes east and west across her ceiling, and this is with simultaneity to capturing what is evidence that they're all monitoring, meaning the city of Ontario, meaning the state, meaning all the demons going to prison in units 33 through 64. The defendant that is engaged in federal stalking, monitoring my device, is with simultaneity to what I'm documenting about what is evidence of unlawful activity and unlawful system underway at an apartment complex inside of an apartment, which the landlord is going to be prosecuted for. The engineered light that's moving, as you can see it on the door frame, and you're looking at it move to the middle of the hallway door, as I'm just taking picture of that highly demonic environment where I'm being gang stalked by the psychopath that resides in the apartment, and then the demons engage in what is the behavioral pattern, just like you'll see a family of demons pace in engineered light, so you can see there are multiple shadows moving across the living room wall, because I'm capturing very damning evidence of what is clearly not the sun, and also not the product of sunlight, appearing at a great distance, while a family of demons admit that they're psychopaths and that they need to be separated from the children that they're gang stalking with. That's the behavior of the demon possessed. And so true to form, you have engineered light that sweeps east and west and across the demon who's gang stalking me inside her apartment, evident through the impossible light activity. And this is documentation of psychological torture. So not only are the demons going to prison, not only is AVANATH employees at Woodside going to prison, but and mental asylums, but they are also
serving for what is the prosecution for loss of housing, because everybody in all 144 units is keeping me under surveillance and is engaged in psychological torture and stalking with ongoing activity creation. This is built into why they are remaining at this environment, which is also evident through a whole fake sun. All right. That's why you're living under at the apartment complex where a fake sun is maintained over you, where the population is maintaining criminal surveillance where you live. That's speaking of federal prison and also loss of housing benefits under the Violence Against Women Act. So I just want to document that. This is AVANATH Capital Management, that monitoring my genitalia in the bathroom, gang stalking and maintaining ongoing impossible light activity, which is also criminal interference with quiet enjoyment. It's the entity is doing so while they're engaged in keeping my device under surveillance, in violation of the federal stalking statute. That's Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. And they're doing so with impunity while they are indeed proven to be stalkers who are psychopaths and then hostile because their secret system of trying to stalk someone and further into murdering and kidnapping them, it makes them hostile. It infuriates them. And so this is the reaction with regard to impossible light activity, amplified audible activity, as I've documented, et cetera, et cetera. These are the psychopaths that are getting locked up. It is 11:37 a.m. under the fake sun that you know is still here after 2 o'clock, like I documented on video at 2:41 p.m. yesterday. And then I'm reminding you about what the entity is doing under the fake sun in Los Angeles, which is never creating any sunlight like you're looking. It's impossible light activity, the evidence of surveillance by a population that moreover it's demon possessed. Okay, this is an entity that's surrounded with evidence. But I'm going to go ahead and get a picture of that fake sun that you already know is here because I got it the other day at 11 o'clock in the morning, and then I got it again at 11:13 on video, and you already know that it's here at sunrise, and you also know that it's here at sunset, like I captured yesterday, March 9th, 2025, after 5 p.m., where the entity provides a wealth of evidence because of the mental instability of the demon-possessed, who are obsessed and also woefully unprepared to actually be federally prosecuted for terrorism based on this satanic system of terrorism that they practice. It's going to be very expensive, costly, and it's also going to cost them their liberty. All right? It's 11:38 a.m. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, the defendants, the brilliant defendants and co-defendants that are gang stalking the federal prosecutor and the one exposing their demon possession to the world are gang stalking under the name of what is RGS landscaping as well. You will see criminal presence, which is also criminal activity creation, engaging in what is a sex offense with an incestuous sex offender inside of the apartment, engaging in a sex offense via that company, that's commercial means of gang stalking, under a fake sun that is still over the same apartment building, like you know, hours from now at 2:41 p.m., where a family of demons engaging in the same criminal presence then paces under that fake sun that they are very much aware of is present while they were engaged in what is psychological torture. This is RGS employees who are indeed going to federal prison, and they're gang stalking with knowledge, and they're crossing path under the fake sun and engineered light, monitoring a woman inside of an apartment, which is sexual violence and terrorism that they are knowingly, intentionally, and continuously engaging in. And any of these gang stalkers who are immigrants working for RGS are subject to deportation. You will see the images of RGS gang stalking, and RGS's employees are subject to prison. This is systematic. This is intolerable. This is exactly what I documented at Alvarado Gardens at Speaker Companies. Smart janitorial, cleaning my property as I was the property manager there every week, and gang stalking with LAPD every single day. You're not getting away with that under some commercial means. Recognize the malice. They're doing so with the population that's doing so with LAPD on a daily basis. You're not getting away with that while you come and make money gang stalking me and then going back to the rest of your business schedule in the state of California. This is what the commercial actors who are gang stalking, the people of the state, in other words, who are gang stalking under a commercial means. Okay, so they're on a trailer under the fake sun and engineered light, and you're looking at the engineered light coming through the peephole. You're looking at the engineered light that's appearing on the hallway closet door. You're looking at the fake sun that's reflecting off of the black bug in the parking lot. The same reflection, by the way, you'll see hours from now at 2:41 in the video that I captured yesterday, March 9th, 2025. The demons are monitoring evidence right now. The RGS, these are Latino males who are going to prison. They were gang stalking, as you saw in video, under the fake sun that disappeared under the clouds moments later, and the same family of demons, the psychopath paces in and out of her front door. These are the demons that are one entity. What you are looking at on the surface, which is what I'm helping you to get beyond, is the surface level analysis. You make a separation amongst the demons that live here and the demons that are engaging in what is referred to as landscaping. And it is all presence, activity creation, and audible activity creation pursuant to ceaseless surveillance on communication devices where federal group stalking monitoring. This is gang stalking remains underway. All right, so I just want to be clear. The demon possessed are riding on a tractor, stalking with noise. These are demons, and they are of the Latino race. This has nothing to do with their race. Okay, these are the entity that are gang stalking, and these are Latino males who are demon possessed, and they're using equipment to stalk with activity. It's the supernatural. It's as supernatural as that fake sun that's sitting over them that they're riding tractors and digging in dirt under. They are under the same fake sun, as you'll recall, at 7:26 in the morning 9 days ago, when they're engaging in what you are supposed to be focused on and distracted by and deterred by, which is landscaping under what is an idle fake sun. So just by virtue of that sunrise where impossible light was appearing and disappearing all over me, that terrorism that I captured on video while they were gang stalking with the demons that reside at the venue in units 33 through 64, who are all going to prison. All right, they're creating activity with the demons who maintain presence at their post around me 24 hours a day, and that's why they're going to prison. And RGS employees are also going to prison because they're gang stalking on a consistent, repeated, continuous basis. You continuously, you refuse to stop, you're going to prison. And there's no getting around that. So this, and they're also going to be, pockets are going to be drained because you're not retaining any profits. Okay. So this is the prosecution of AVANATH Capital Management, who is criminally facilitating federal group stalking and monitoring, which is an egregious sex offense that they're committing against a woman who is also enforcing her rights. I understand RGS is also stalking under the Violence Against Women Act, which are going to be prosecuted for that as well. It is currently 11:45 a.m. Impossible light activity occurring inside of the living room. This is just ongoing federal charges. These Latino men are going to prison. So the prize is I'm documenting. You're doing it against a federal prosecutor who is very good at maintaining a catalog of detailed evidence to prosecute you in court, when your mental illness is also going to inform the way in which you're going to be punished. Are you going to an asylum? I recommend prison at this point. Continue pacing, continue stalking with the impossible light activity, and you'll find yourself in a mental asylum. And if you are not a natural born citizen, you're going to be deported. And any kids that you had in this country is not going to keep you here. You're out of this country, period. So I just want to be clear, it's 11:46 a.m. This is monitoring of evidence. This is relevant to obstruction of justice, documentation of as well, and it's psychological torture in real time. Under the Violence Against Women Act, 34 U.S.C. Section 12291, this is the technical abuse that I'm subjected to as I use my devices to document the pattern of conduct which is committed in furtherance of murdering me, which is what RGS is actually making money on. That's why you're draining their pockets. And that's why their employees are going to prison. The employees that came are present, and this is all information that's going to be produced. Many of them I've documented, but it's going to be produced because every single last one is going to prison. All right, you're not going to help the state commit murder or engage in the calculated process preceding murder, psychological torture, and avoid that, which is prison and a mental ward. You're not avoiding that. And if you think that it's wise to aid an inept and incompetent hitman, it's not. That's activity creation, asking questions that they already know, and engineered light. That's mental illness 101. That's malice. Monitoring with the same RGS who was going to prison for gang stalking with this person who was crossing path pacing. Okay, this is the psychopaths that I'm surrounded by, and just breaking down the malicious conduct that they're engaging in. It's not intelligent. It's nothing other than the requirement of demons who get away with murdering people, kidnapping them, intimidating them, and I'm exposing all of their tactics. And you are never superseding the specific environment and the elements. It is currently 11:47 a.m. This is documentation of impunity and malice. This is P.O.C. All right, this is the banner for help for the mentally ill who are the demon-possessed gang stalkers in the state of California, and you are witnessing it as it's pacing around inside of the apartment, license 9HUZ740. Crossing path with simultaneity to what I'm doing on my devices, inside of the unit where impossible light activity is just fanning east and west across the demon ceiling, and is going to be present in that environment where you are inextricably linked to that ongoing terrorism and psychological torture that the landlord company is being prosecuted for, that the demons residing at the unit are going to be prosecuted for, that the demons engaging in criminal presence such as RGS are going to be prosecuted for. And this is, again, the uneducated, the unequipped, the inept engage in with regard to acts of desperation, which is not pointing the finger away from anybody. It's pointing the finger at the psychopath that's pacing in the environment that's engineered, living under the fake sun, but it's also pointing at everybody else. So I want to be clear, it's currently 12:25 p.m., but as I'm watching content on YouTube regarding future success, regarding blessings that are coming, regarding rewards for hard work, etc., regarding justice, as I would receive that sort of positive message. And the demon who is envious, the demon who thought that with the high school education and membership in a sex cult was going to replace me, is the one that's envious of that, and with simultaneity to watching that, is pacing in what you know is also engineered light, under what you know is also a fake sun, amongst what is you also know is dynamic engineered light that's fanning across the psychopath's ceiling. And this demon is envious of that and provides more evidence regarding her mental illness, including, as you hear her pacing inside of her apartment where she's stalking. This is the pathetic existence of a Jezebel spirit that has engaged in such levels of desperation. She's going to a mental asylum for the rest of her life. And it's criminal activity that she is sharing with AVANATH Capital Management and RGS Landscaping, our AVANATH employees who are going to prison, and also the demons that are residing in units 1 through 144, as this demon engages in more criminal activity in plain sight, which is speaking to malice and impunity. That's what you'll see as I capture images of criminal conduct happening inside of an apartment, which is relevant to a private space where the government is maintaining surveillance and psychological torture. The demons that fail to appreciate this, the demons that fail to cease engagement in it, they do so to their own demise. And you're always understanding what the ordinary target individual is subjected to, the mentally ill that surround them, who are lusting and working toward murdering and kidnapping them, and will do so in their face, even as they, as I have shown you, seek to enforce their rights. And this is what is informing federal policy. This is what is informing what is, again, the sentencing. Like this psychopath, Tracy Banks, license 9HUZ740, she's going for the rest of her life into a mental asylum. However much of her life she has left, because she has made a vow to Satan, and so there are consequences absent her repentance. So nonetheless, whatever her expiration date is, she's going to spend the rest of her life in a mental asylum. And that's just based on the mental illness, the severe mental instability that she herself exhibited while she first foolishly sought to target me, the one who is prosecuting her. When you can't even spell prosecution or constitution, it is not wise to target that person just because you've had sex with so many people who are even under the same condition that you are. You serve Satan, and Satan has you deceived, thinking that you're going to win something that you were never going to win, ever. It doesn't matter how deceived you are. It's speaking to who Christ is, period. It's not based on whether you believe it or not. It's speaking to what Christ has said and has already decreed, and I told you beforehand. And so the demon is pacing inside of the apartment amongst engineered light. That's continuing, and it's monitoring my internet content, and it is also relevant. That's why I pointed out to you, what is it that I'm doing as the specific environment becomes animated in real time, i.e. the amplified audible activity or the engineered light and the pacing of psychopaths who are literally losing their minds in real time. That's what pacing is showing. They try to do it with a straight face. They try to do it while they look productive to you. You're not deceived by any of that. You know that these are stalkers. You know that these are demons also. And you know that their focus is me. And you don't look productive. You look psychotic. And that was my point, so that you would never be deceived. And this is a psychopath that's pacing inside of the apartment while I am documenting. You are literally in the apartment while the engineered light is occurring. You're going to a mental asylum. This is Tracy Banks. You're going to a mental asylum, but this is an understanding the direct relevance and how highly incriminating the specific environment is to the entity. No more are you going to be there while the government is gang stalking somebody, as an ordinary targeted individual is now aware of how it is executed, and you're in that specific environment, you're in that same environment, and you're just going to, nothing happening over here, has nothing to do with me, I don't see it. No, you're going to find yourself in prison. Okay. And there, of course, it's not that simple. I have a body of evidence speaking to exactly how the states are targeting American citizens. But this whole false reality that Satan himself has been maintaining while they're murdering and silencing people, it is absolute absurdity that you would be in this environment and you think in your mind you're going to be here right in someone's face, and you're going to have them isolated in that universe by themselves, and they're going to suffer, and there are no penalties for you. That's what the demon possessed sought to subject American citizens to. It's absurd. It's patently ridiculous. Okay, the specific environment is the direct evidence of the pattern of conduct. Okay, she's in her apartment amongst engineered light that's fanning across the ceiling. I've already established my credibility. I don't have to have one more ounce of documentation against this demon. She's going to a mental asylum. I don't have to make it up. And by the way, I already have documentation of what is supernatural light conduct, just like you saw yesterday afternoon, where hours from now, the sun is still, it's not in Florida, it's still over this same apartment building at 2:41 p.m. Exhibit A. And then you also saw the impossible light activity on her living room wall. I had 4 upright shadows on her living room wall at a great distance away from me. And then the demons that are living here, gang stalking with this witch who's creating activity creating activity in concert with them and incriminating all of them. They all monitor together. They all create activity together. They're all sharing in the elements together. They're all sharing and exhibiting their mental illness together as well. So when you're looking at this impunity exhibited in the images that I captured at around 12:25 p.m., this is a demon that's intentionally crossing path, knowing that I just documented defendants in reference to RGS. This is what the demons resort to. Okay, well, this is a witch. So this is demonic activity. Okay, this is somebody that uses magic. This is somebody that's a psychopath, hides behind in dark alleys, behind buildings, stalks wherever it is that I go and travel, wherever it is that I go. This is what Tracy Banks is. This is what she does. This is what she doesn't want to, but she's a stalker. She's a stalker and she's a demon-possessed one. This psychotic individual is inside. She uses magic. That's how this impossible light activity occurs. I want to be clear. The witches and warlocks using magic, using witchcraft and whatnot to create what is this light activity. It is a light activity that you are able to see with your eyes. So we're not prosecuting based on just my stating what it is that I know that they're doing, and I don't have any way to present evidence speaking to a terrorizing environment, which is accomplishing surveillance at the same time of a criminal nature by the government. This is all supported by evidence and the pattern of conduct. But let me give you context. This is a witch who practices witchcraft, and this is the impossible light activity that's happening on her ceiling in her apartment, while she is also aware of what I'm doing on my phone, i.e. Federal stalking conduct. And this desperate witch is relying on criminal conduct that is not deterring the prosecution of RGS outside. But these are the tactics that they engage in. I'm going to do more like the gang stalking police. Everybody's going to prison for gang stalking with the police who fly over your apartment. But this is how they reason in their mind, and it's not reasoning. It's Satan. Okay, this is mental illness. Satan is using these people, and they have lost the ability to reason. They have lost the ability to properly function, make sound decisions, like just stopping, because you're not prospering in your plan. It's not working. It's not looking the way you thought it was going to look. You're not accomplishing the purposes that you set out for. You're doing it towards somebody. You're engaging in this conduct that I'm literally consuming it, and I'm weaponizing it, and I'm prosecuting it. This is not helping your purposes. But you're not dealing with normal people. This is, again, the demon possessed who are obsessed. They're mentally ill. They are devoid of a sound reasoning and properly functioning mind. That's a threat with regard to gang stalking government actors and politicians and police departments and sheriff's departments, by the way. And it's also a national security threat regarding a population that reasons in such manners. I just want to point that out. And that's clear. The demon possessed that are pacing all around inside of their apartments and under a fake sun are exhibiting that, while these are acts of desperation, while I'm still okay. So while you see the demon pacing inside of her apartment, and you already know with regard what I'm referencing, in other words, when I'm speaking to impossible light fanning across the ceiling, you know the environment where you are not walking from the bedroom to the kitchen. You are aware of what is the code of this is a demon who is pacing. All right. There's a specific jargon, there is a whole naming convention when they're monitoring. And a demon wants to appear like me, a normal person who is just walking from the bathroom to the kitchen. I'm not monitoring somebody. I don't know what the demon is doing in unit number 41, but they know what I'm doing, and they're consumed with whatever it is that I'm doing, and they're sex offenders because of that. I'm the one that's being targeted in the specific environment. I'm not the one that's targeting another in that specific environment. That's why I am not subject to a federal prosecution. And evidence proves that I am not a part of this population that is targeting another. Evidence proves that I am being targeted. I am isolated with regard to the one who is being targeted in the specific environment. That's why I'm not being prosecuted. It is not the same position and status of the entity that is gang stalking. It's not the same position. Anyway, the entities engaged in this pattern of conduct and their mental illness is put on full display while you see a demon-possessed person pacing in the apartment where you already know the light conditions, you already know the outside environment, you already know the condition of everybody else in that same environment and everyone else sharing presence in that environment, both inside and outside. Gang stalking is underway by a demon-possessed psychopath. That's Tracy Banks, pacing in and out, who is incriminating everyone else, not helping RGS. And RGS's impunity is therefore revealed and subject to a prosecution. You're not just gang stalking as somebody that is perfectly comfortable and being known as a sex offender, as an incestuous predator, as a psychopath, as a stalker who has conspired to murder me and is already known as a thief and did so with impunity and malice. You're already known as that. So, and you're perfectly comfortable with that. Understand that this person is gang stalking with the rest of the entity. You're not just gang stalking as an individual. This is how an entity is not prepared to be exposed and prosecuted. They are always harming themselves. When you first sought to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring against any American citizen, that's my purpose. But against me, the federal prosecutor who's exposing you. Okay, so I just want to make sure that that's clear because that's also shown. You'll see criminal presence in the apartment amongst the engineered light. This is while the entity is maintaining engineered light sweeping across the ceiling, which the entity is doing with regard to Linda Reyes, who's going to prison. She's going to prison for longer and longer and longer and longer and longer. The more that I document this gang stalking employee of AVANATH Capital Management, a demon. Okay. The entity is doing so with impunity, and the entire entity is subject to federal prison in units 33 through 64 and mental asylums as well. And this is what Tracy Banks is acting in concert with knowledge, and is perfectly comfortable being known as a Jezebel whore, as a witchcraft practicing demon-possessed gang stalker targeting her own relative, her daughter, who has never done anything other than try to make her life better, by the way, and willing to share whatever success and advances I have in my personal life to bless her. That's who I am as a person. But it's not good enough that I share of my own volition. This demon thought that at 60 some odd years old, she was going to replace me and look like me, steal my education, my skill set. When I sat in classrooms and gained this knowledge, and then the Lord God showed me how to use it to serve his purposes, she thought that witchcraft and promiscuity was going to give her this ability. This is somebody that's mentally ill. Hence the pacing, hence the engineered light on her ceiling, hence the fake sun over her apartment, hence the gang stalking with the demon-possessed population. The specific environment is directly pointing to the mental illness of the entity that is gang stalking. Yes. Okay. It is currently 12:38 p.m. This is P.O.C. Documentation of what is the ongoing terrorism and psychological torture that AVANATH Capital Management is commercially engaging in, facilitating, profiting from, and is doing so in concert with the defendants who are gang stalking by residents who are all going to prison in units 33 through 64, and the demons who are going to federal prison by virtue of employment, criminally facilitating and engaging in maliciously the pattern of conduct on behalf of the state by employment. That is Linda Reyes and every other employee of AVANATH Capital Management, and all 144 units who are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring while fake sun remains over the apartment complex, over me at that apartment complex, speaking to the focal point of everyone at that apartment complex, which is speaking to an unprecedented prosecution of the company, the landlord, the third party, and everybody residing and working at that venue, regardless of what apartment number. They are going to be prosecuted under the Violence Against Women Act, while they're also engaging in what is ongoing psychological torture and gang stalking by residents. It's just the ones in units 33 through 64, they're all going to prison. And they're all going to prison because of the ongoing amplified audible activity while they are frustrated, while they're engaged in federal stalking. They're frustrated by the evidence that they are criminally monitoring, while they're obstructing justice and interfering with their own federal prosecution. the case that is presented against them, and engaging in what is psychological harms toward the federal prosecutor, speaking to impunity and malice of the mentally ill who are going to both prison and mental asylums. This is again 3:43 p.m. Amplified audible activity is sounding with simultaneity to my capturing very damning screenshots of what are pictures that are taken, so you can see it in the pictures taken. You can also see it in screenshots, because I want you to see where the engineered light just appears on the floor, and then you'll see where it's traveled to at like 10 minutes later. This is very creepy. This is what is disturbing, psychologically torturing to the ordinary targeted individual who is always being molested, accosted with engineered light, who is witnessing this sort of environment that's designed to scare them, that's designed to cause them to question their sanity, especially when you're surrounded by psychopaths like the elderly at Woodside Senior Apartments, including Tracy Banks, who are surrounding you, acting with impunity, not acting innocent, not persuading anybody of that either, but they're showing their mental illness while they intentionally surround you in that environment and acting oblivious to your presence, acting oblivious to the environment. That's the malice where the demon-possessed are acting in furtherance of killing, murdering, stealing from someone, and kidnapping someone. And they're all going to prison in units 33 through 64. The demon in unit 55, everyone say it with me because we all know her license plate by now. She is going to a mental asylum, 5WUB 715. She is unemployed. Her job is to engage in 24-hour criminal surveillance, for which she's going to a mental asylum, and she will likely expire there as well because of the ongoing documentation of obstruction of justice, the impunity with which she is engaging in what is un-American domestic terrorism with the government, that she is also engaging in a pattern of conduct of seeking to threaten, which is an unsuccessful effort and very foolish. Seeking to threaten with the ongoing psychological torture tactics. This is an elderly person that is gang stalking me by remaining in her living room, stalking me moment by moment, who is obsessed with my genitalia. And this is somebody that is hostile because I'm exposing her mental illness by virtue of showing the impossible light activity that's moving on the living room floor inside of Tracy Banks' apartment like a centipede, like a snake. All right. And that's based on what the demons know that it's being documented. So this demonic light activity is moving out of the way. So I just reached up a little bit farther to get a good angle around the couch where you'll see impossible light activity remaining on the living room floor, where the sun is at the same time over me at Alvarado Gardens, which is what I showed you on YouTube, when you can look at the video that's referenced with regard to the video that I just captured. So let me give you specifics regarding the images that I referenced. You will see the screenshots regarding the impossible light activity that's on the living room floor as I originally captured it, after getting video of the engineered light just manifesting out of the shade on the inside of the apartment. That's demonic. And that's also how you know that these are demons who are not exercising any religious right under the Constitution or freedom of religion. This is the demons that are maliciously stalking as a population by maintaining presence in what is no longer a private residence. And there is no freedom of speech or private activity. They are in a facilitating environment where they're on behalf of the government, without any warrant or probable cause, maintaining criminal surveillance and are stalking by residents. And this unfathomable level of corruption by the state and the people is speaking to the ongoing system of federal group stalking and monitoring. And it is proven through the supernatural occurrences of amplified noise, which also is relevant to what I happen to be documenting on my device. The more that I capture the supernatural, the louder it gets in the apartment. The more that I capture the supernatural, the more radical the light activity becomes, which is also analyzed as what is an unlawful threat. And it's psychologically harmful. And it's going to serve to drain the pockets of gang stalkers like AVANATH Capital Management, who in 14 other states are engaging in this pattern of conduct. And you also know that already, because the fake sun is remaining over the Woodside Senior Apartments that they have in Ontario, California. AVANATH Capital Management is a threat, a domestic enemy that is profiting off of federal group stalking and monitoring throughout this country. And AVANATH Capital Management is acting with impunity while I'm subject to ceaseless psychological torture with the intent to obstruct justice, while I and my devices are kept under surveillance, while engineered light of all manner like a laser is shooting inside of its apartment, where it is no private residence, where I am being kept under surveillance, and they are the property where it's underway. They are,
ownership of the property. They're engaging in what is the maintenance of a property management company at the property where the system is underway. They're profiting while the system is underway on the property, and they are maintaining employment by those who are gang stalking on the grounds of the property. AVANATH Capital Management is a third-party corrupt actor whose headquarters is also in Irvine. They are indeed gang stalking in California. Okay, and they are doing so while I'm documenting. So I want to be clear, at 3:17 p.m., this is just one example. While the sun would be, as you're looking at, for example, in Los Angeles, the sun is over me in Los Angeles as I'm documenting during the 3 p.m. hour over the top of my head also. But that's how you know that this is not sunlight on inside of Tracy Banks' living room in Ontario, California at 3:17 p.m. You also know that it's not sunlight because sunlight is never appearing just at a distance, just in the middle of your living room floor out of nowhere. It's also not sunlight as it travels from that original location while you document it, and then you watch how it travels across that floor, specifically out of vision so that I can't just aim my camera and capture it. That evidence of the demonic is literally traveling across the living room floor, and that's speaking to what is very, very satanic. And these are it's speaking to the wicked and the demon-possessed predators who are stalking by residents as well. It is serving for what is the prosecution of the demons who are gang stalking while this apartment is also filled with amplified noise. So this impossible light that's appearing on the floor at the couch at 3:17 p.m. today, March 10th, 2025, you can see that. And then you'll see as I capture at 3:42 p.m. that engineer light is closer to the suitcase. It's farther away from the couch. I had to move my arm up farther in order to capture the specific location out of the ease with which I was able to see it right in front of the couch, and it's traveling to be in a different location. And this is like 30 minutes later. That's not sunlight either. But the entity is engaging, as you can see, on an ongoing basis. This is what AVANATH is gang stalking by. This is what the City of Ontario is maintaining criminal surveillance by. This is what the City of Ontario, in concert with the people that say the population of demons that pace around under this fake sun and amongst this impossible light, that's all it's doing is traveling, moving. In other words, all along the walls, the ceiling, the floor, underneath Tracy Banks's patio. This is the demonic. And these are demons who are stalking, and they know exactly who they're stalking and targeting. And it is myself, and it is proven through that specific environment. Okay, it's currently 3:52 p.m. and you saw RGS engaging in what is pacing under a fake sun with knowledge and intent. And you also know that because at 3:52 p.m. the fake sun is still here and engineer light is shooting like a laser inside of the same apartment where I was documenting them in front of it using the tractor trailer in engineer light under the fake sun. That same engineer light and fake sun is still here while they are part of the population engaging in the elements of monitoring, which is a government-wide effort. It's a statewide effort. And you're seeing what is P.O.C. headquarters going by the name of Woodside Senior Apartments, AVANATH Capital Management. And that's the reason why, the greater context, and speaking to the civil and criminal prosecution of a bunch of demons that are gang stalking and psychopaths that are hostile, because I'm documenting them. And I'm also laughing. I'm laughing as I capture this very damning evidence. And the demons that are stalking me, they get hostile, and amplified noise fills the apartment. They're going to prison. They're going to prison for that. And it's an ongoing admission because this is what they're also engaged in, what is deriving pleasure and gratified by what's between my legs when I'm in the bathroom, because they're also obsessively stalking me with light then. They're also obsessively stalking by pacing, creating amplified noise then. And that's the sexual aspect to that pattern of conduct. That's the predator admitting that they're stalking you, by the way. It is currently 3:53 p.m. This is documentation of not only AVANATH, it is documentation of what are the defendants who are going to prison. It is the documentation of the state of California, because that's how you have the specific environment over me in Los Angeles, as I'm reminding you constantly, where was the fake sun at this time on this day, or this time of year at this time in 2024. And it is at Alvarado Gardens where the entity was keeping a fake sun over me, speaking to the pattern of conduct that the demon-possessed are engaging in Ontario, California, amongst what is the demon-possessed who are residing at the venue and working at the venue and maintaining activity all around and on the grounds of the venue. Okay, and while they continuously do so, it's speaking for longer and longer terms in federal prison. Amplified audible activity at 3:54 p.m., monitoring the evidence as well. Okay, you'll recall the entity is setting the fake sun where it remains right here. And no natural environment will ever consist of the sunrise and sunset at the same apartment, or at the same house, or at the same park, or at the same mall. At no location is the sun an idle stationary
object where it's rising on the east side of whatever structure it is and setting on the west side of whatever structure that same location and address and ecological location would represent. This is the entity that's maintaining surveillance, and that fake sun is nothing other than a prop in the sky where Satan is operating a system that the demon possessed are fully and diligently maintaining on this on Satan's behalf. Satan is a spirit, and they all have the spirit of Satan in them while they're engaging what is demonic activity right in front of your face. And it's called pacing. All right, the Satan's spirit has people pacing all around, doing what they're doing with regard to whatever the target individual is doing, as opposed to minding their business and living their lives. It's very psychotic, and it's very highly criminal and malicious. And while the entity is simultaneously maintaining a program of psychological torture while seeking to criminally defame, that's speaking to federal prison as well. Okay, and understanding the malice of this whole government system of federal group stalking and monitoring, and it's exposing the population who is absolutely going to prison at Woodside Senior Apartments. It is currently 3:56 p.m. This is documentation of criminal interference with quiet enjoyment pursuant to federal stalking on my devices and inside that's maintained inside of this apartment, keeping me under surveillance, monitoring evidence with the intent to obstruct justice as well, and stalking in violation of the Violence Against Women Act. This is P.O.C. Okay, gang stalking by the entity that is engaging in the pattern of conduct with the state of California via residents and in concert and via minor children, which is what you'll see reflected in the documentation. You'll see both the engineer light that's filling Tracy Banks' apartment, coating the same patio glass door where RGS is gang stalking under that fake sun that's captured on video for you to see at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And this is 5 o'clock in the evening at the same patio glass door where you will see the fake sun in perfect alignment with me. That's no sun that's in Los Angeles over Alvarado Gardens outside of my office at 1810 North Alvarado Street on the same day or yesterday or tomorrow or at this time of year at all. This is speaking to the crime scene where the demons that are going to mental asylums in unit number 41, they're gang stalking with children, using them as a means of pacing. The sound of the children as a means of audible activity with simultaneity to the operation of my device, both as I am refreshing the YouTube channel online. I'm looking at videos online. The moment that I refresh the page in order to look at something different in the feed, amplified booming occurs in the apartment, and the children outside who are gang stalking with their parents in Unit 41 are creating audible activity. And then I do capture images of the fake sun that is in perfect alignment with me of the same apartment where I am showing you RGS's gang stalking outside of the door of this apartment in Ontario, California at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's currently 5:20 p.m. So this is at 5:17, approximately 5:17 p.m., 5:18 p.m., 5:16 p.m. You will see the fake sun beaming through what are closed blinds behind what is a window covering. And this is supposed to be, again, the idiotic, but this is Satan's explanation. So this is why every corner, every crevice, every peephole in the door, every crack between the blinds, even when I'm aiming it up toward the ceiling or down toward the floor, you will see what is appearing as the sun as the explanation for the light that I'm documenting. And it's speaking to what is the pattern of conduct of stalking with the fake sun. And it's also inexplicable and demonic, and it's also idiotic because the sun is not maintaining presence in the same manner in alignment to my person for the duration of the day in Los Angeles. It's also not remaining idle at one address like I'm documenting at Woodside Senior Apartments at specifically apartment number 51. It is maintaining this sort of presence in supernatural ways, such as the object itself beaming through brightly, creating concentrated light on the inside of Tracy Banks's apartment, creating the upright shadows a distance from the patio furniture as it's appearing on Tracy Banks's patio door. That's speaking to light activity and the trajectory of light that is shooting horizontally, creating the shadow of the objects the shadow of the objects that the engineer light touches, like the fake sun being so low that it is in alignment to the trees that come from the ground, not down from the sky. They come up from the ground, and this fake sun is so below as the engineered light shoots horizontally like a laser and touches those trees and branches. You will see the shadow of those trees that are far away from the building appearing on that building. That's speaking to engineered light. That's what's happening on the patio glass door. As I document this specific environment, the demon possessed in unit number 41 is pacing via the children who are going to be taken from the custody of the people of the state, who are on another day engaging in what is documented abuse under federal law, using them and engaging in a sex offense against a woman whom they are stalking, and engaging in what is terrorism and psychological torture via and in concert with those children, and doing so while also engaging in criminal surveillance on my communication devices. And this is a sex offender. This is the entity that also knows that it's being documented. So this is speaking to the mental illness that is also evident through the impossible light activity, through the idle presence of the fake sun. This is exactly what RGS was doing at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. You are now understanding the demon possessed. You're looking at different faces, different ages, same criminal presence under a fake sun amongst engineered light, using children to do the same thing that RGS was doing by wearing RGS t-shirts, being over the age of majority, walking around, pacing around in engineered light in front of the apartment. And then you're understanding that I have a body of evidence speaking to what is under no circumstances the natural environment as well, because not only on this day, but at this time of year and for the duration of my employment at Alvarado Gardens at 1800 to 1818 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, 90026, at the Alvarado Gardens apartments where I lived and worked. I am documenting the maintenance of the fake sun where it rose in the morning, beginning 6 o'clock in the morning, the sunrise through my living room window, and the maintenance of a fake sun for the duration of the day, and the sunset in alignment to me as I walk outside of my office. And then the entity engaged in the alteration of that specific environment, where the entity will then, as you'll see in the evidence of the pattern of conduct that these demons are going to federal prison for, and losing custody of the children that they are in custody of. The entity moves the fake sun, and you will see, as the documentation in Los Angeles is already published, you'll see, as you pay attention to the details, the entity engages in what is just keeping the fake sun and setting it in alignment to my bedroom window. So the sun rises in my living room window, the sunset will begin to be documented outside of my living room window, whereas before the entity was keeping the fake sun in alignment to me, progressing in the fake sun behavior, especially as I document, and the demon possessed their costume is shown to be a costume, but also the demon possessed who are embarrassed as I scrutinize the asininity of what the entity does under a fake sun, amongst a fake sun, and all the ways in which, and all the documentation that I capture. And I just remind you, remember what it was doing with the fake sun yesterday? Remember what the entity was doing with the fake sun 30 minutes ago? And as I engaged in this type of scrutiny, the entity is at this time of year changing what it's doing with that fake sun, and you will see where the fake sun is setting in perfect alignment with my bedroom, and doing so while the engineered light is coating my ceiling inside of my bedroom, flashing of light across my ceiling, while the demon possessed, just like at Woodside Senior Apartments, are gang stalking, including with minor children, all of whom are going to be taken from the custody of the terrorists who are gang stalking, and maintaining a program of psychological torture against the one who was here, not because they're going to sacrifice me, but because I'm going to prosecute them. And they are engaging in the pattern of conduct with impunity and malice. So I want to be clear, the entity amplifying, booming inside of the apartment. AVANATH Capital Management is being prosecuted for this. The company is being prosecuted itself, the company name. The company is also being sued for it, for engaging in the criminal conduct and facilitating terrorism and profiting off of it. Also, the company is subject to what is treatment with regard to government programs that it shall not participate in, and the threat that it poses to American citizens, while AVANATH Capital Management is in 14 other states in this country, and also has other properties in California where the fake sun is remaining over its Ontario property, speaking to what AVANATH Capital Management is doing at every other venue where it is also profiting off of federal group stalking and monitoring, and also engaging in the hypocritical engagement in what is federal group stalking and monitoring while maintaining HUD-regulated properties while they're stalking the occupants, okay? And that's what I'm speaking to while AVANATH Capital Management is gang stalking under a fake sun, where the fake sun's remaining over its venue, not a property, not a private property, and they're going to be prosecuted for the malice with which this commercial actor is both making money and gang stalking at the same time. I want to be clear, the demons in unit number 41, they're the same family of demons gang stalking, crossing path while their shadows are appearing on the inside of Tracy Banks' apartment at 2:41 p.m. This is the same family of demons that are gang stalking under the fake sun that's over the same apartment building in the morning, and they are pacing one after
after another outside of their apartment. These are the demons that are engaging in what is an obsession with me, and their obsession is also sexually motivated. It is also rooted in what is their mental illness, and their mental illness and their sexual perversion is a threat to the children with whom you will see gang stalking again on another day. This is documentation of what is abuse, speaking to the contrary to what they would state in court, that they love their children, that they want custody of their children, and the documentation will directly rebut that. And this is what's going to supersede any of the literally delusional positions that one would maintain in court when their abuse and their despicable conduct with their children proves that they do not actually value their children, they don't cherish them, they're not seeking to protect them, they're not seeking to exclude them from violating others, they're teaching them to engage in violating others, and they also derive pleasure from it. These are the mentally ill that are literally a threat to those children, and it is no surprise when you are looking at the news when the people of the state are harming children, even their own children, or some other third party's children. This is the nature of their behavior. The pattern of conduct is speaking to the threat that the people of the state are to even the children that they're in custody of. This is the Latino family residing in unit number 41, where AVANATH Capital Management employees reside. And I want to be clear regarding the impunity. They're acting as an entity where the fake sun is seen over the same apartment building that it was this afternoon at 12:47, I believe I captured this video. And this is the same position where the fake sun is over me at 11 in the morning, and the same where I'm capturing the fake sun rising at 7:26 in the morning. This is where the demons are using children to stalk with activity. As they know, I begin capturing images inside of the apartment, and you will also see the fake sun blaring through closed blind slats and through window coverings, which is not the explanation for the coated, concentrated amber orange color of engineer light on Tracy Banks's exact same east living room wall in her living room, which is not the product of sunlight where the fake sun has been sitting over the apartment complex all day long. It's also not the product of sunlight where the fake sun is sitting over me at Alvarado Gardens, which again, when you're documenting and prosecuting a state that is practicing a satanic targeting system, you maintain this body of evidence in order to show the fact that they are demon possessed, speaking to mental illness and the lack of any need to personally know the entity that is indeed gang stalking you, and doing so with an ongoing obsession that's exhibited. They are engaging in what is the use of children in doing that. Amplified booming is repeated as I document them. This is going toward what is the removal of all children from all gang stalking households, children not only that they have custody over, but access to. Okay, so that's grandma and grandpa that thinks that they're going to be prosecuted for federal group stalking and monitoring, and they're still going to go and have access to children. No, they're not. They're not. And this is handling, you want to be a terrorist, you want to be a sex offender, and you're going to experience all that sex offenders and terrorists experience as a matter of justice. And it will not include maintaining custody of minor children. It will not include just living like the state of California does, maintaining households and a society of sex offenders and criminals who are stalking and targeting American citizens. That whole illusion of a reality and a society is coming to an abrupt end. And there are real repercussions under federal law for the gang stalking families and the gang stalking households which fill the city of Ontario and the state of California. While I am capturing impossible light activity inside of this apartment and impossible light activity covering all of the property where these children are pacing around, and their use of their playful voices and screaming and laughing is audible activity, while their demon-possessed gang stalking baby daddy, all right, the baby mama and the baby daddy that are gang stalking, shacking up together in unit number 41 with their dad, who works for AVANATH Capital Management, is engaging in this series of federal offenses which are sexually violent together. Sex offenders that are engaging and facilitating sexual violence via children, you are kissing your kids goodbye. And this is just another day of documenting that. The fake sun remains present and the engineer light remains coating the patio glass door. This is speaking to the fact that this family and the entire entity is still gang stalking, including with children. I'm pointing this out. I'm making sure I'm specifically narrating it because the entity that is losing its housing, the entity that's losing its company, its property, it's losing its liberty, it's losing its reputation, it's losing its position in government, it's losing the departments in the city and in the state that are going to be prosecuted for this. This is the entity that is acting with ongoing noted impunity. Okay, so it is currently 5:31 p.m. where psychological torture remains underway. It's criminal interference with quiet enjoyment that is not limited to the quiet hours under an existing lease. Nor do you have to be under a lease for a gang stalking landlord to be prosecuted for federal group stalking and monitoring. This is why you have the government that does not reside at the unit capable of engaging in the elements of monitoring, which that third-party landlord shall be prosecuted civilly and criminally for, nor does any resident or occupant have to be one that remains at the venue to come onto the grounds or be in relevant position even outside of the gates to share in the elements of monitoring. That level of malice is why the third-party gang-stalking landlord shall be civilly and criminally prosecuted while they act together amongst one person who's being bullied by the government in furtherance of murdering and kidnapping them. And as you are witnessing, also psychologically torturing them, since the entity is engaging in this sort of conduct that the demon-possessed, the mentally ill derive pleasure from. Damages are designed to devastate such third parties, such domestic terrorists like AVANATH Capital Management, LLC, headquartered in Irvine, California, RGS Landscaping, headquartered in Anaheim, California. Gang stalking underway while you're looking at the same fake sun and you're looking at the same criminal activity via the demons in Unit 41. That's exactly what RGS was doing hours later in the specific environment where no landscaping is nothing. It's nothing other than an admission to engagement in what is the state's P.O.C. and its impunity while they do so, both by residents and by employment, and also while evidence is being captured. In real time, engineered light is appearing on the patio glass door, getting brighter and dimmer. The engineered light that you pay attention to on the east living room wall adjacent to Tracy Banks' front door, as you can see it in the dark during the 6 and 7 a.m. hour, you are seeing it on the same wall, and all it does is get richer in color, brighter and broader, taller. That's it. It doesn't go anywhere. It has nothing to do with sunlight. And that's what's covering the ground while a bunch of demons are exposed for the terrorists and the stalkers and psychopaths that they are, while the fake sun is supposed to be a prop that you're never informed about. And their prop, their mask, the costumes that a society is wearing is serving for what is an unprecedented prosecution, in the same way that the entity sought to engage in an unprecedented offense against an American citizen trying to murder and kidnap me. Okay, and they do so with their children because they do not care about their children. They don't care about their children. They are willing to sacrifice their own children in the same way that they tried to sacrifice me and keep me silent. And since the entity is such a threat to such children, those children shall be removed. Let me help you recall again the documentation regarding the license plate of the same gang stalking household. They have more than one vehicle, but I'm going to document again the license plate just for record keeping purposes. The license plate is 9CZC. That's the beginning of it, but let me quote the entire license plate. 9CZC059, gang stalking, doing so by children in the specific environment while engaging in a sex offense, criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment. Everything that is occurring is serving the elements of monitoring. None of them are free to live here where the entity is gang stalking on behalf of the state using satanic methods under a fake sun, and you're not exercising any constitutional rights. It's a facilitating venue while I am again showing you engineer light under a fake sun where the government is engaging in the system of surveillance. All right, to do so with children is to demonstrate the fact that you actually despise those children and you intend to harm them in the way that they are in real time while I document relevant positioning, light activity, and audible activity through those under the age of majority. And this is what the state of California is engaging in, by the way, the ongoing systematic contribution to the delinquency of minors. And it is no question about what's going on with the youth in the state of California, where they're gang stalking with the government. Okay, it is again 5:34 p.m. Amplified booming inside of the apartment with simultaneity to the demons pacing outside over and under the age of 18 while they're monitoring the use of my devices on the inside. And Daryl J. Carter and all the executives of AVANATH Capital Management and the company itself is going to be prosecuted for that. It's 5:35 p.m. at Woodside Senior Apartments, 408 West G Street in Ontario. This is documentation of impunity, of malice, and also obstruction of justice, which is relevant to the prison terms and the terms in mental asylums. The demons in units 33 through 64 are gang stalking together. They're all going to prison for their close maintenance of presence in the path on behalf of the state. And their ongoing acts of psychological torture and amplification of audible activity creation and merely stalking in the path while a demonic environment maintains maintains that specific environment around me. You're going to prison for that. They're stalking by residents and they know that. That's what the California practices, and that's why there's a whole fake sign over the apartment building where I'm at. And so their prize is prison. When you engage in domestic terrorism in this country, just like Osama bin Laden would be subject to, you're going to prison. You're going to federal prison. And you're going to mental asylums while you exhibit the obsession that the demons in Unit 41, the demon in this unit, Tracy Banks, exhibits the obsession that the demon in Unit 55, the mental instability that they exhibit. You will be subject to a mental asylum. And any other way that your mental illness is exhibited as you're gang stalking somebody who was very detailed and diligently documenting in order to prosecute you. Okay? It is currently 5:36 p.m. This is P.O.C. 5:37 p.m. The same demons who are losing custody of their children are a part of this, and they are engaging in what is ongoing criminal retaliation, some sort of effort to intimidate, bully, as they psychologically torture the one who was publishing the evidence about the criminal conduct that they know that they're engaging in and that they also know is being documented. And so this is the simultaneity of amplified booming occurring again at 5:37 while I am publishing evidence in real time, which I took a screenshot of. That's the evidence pursuant to their federal cases that's being published online. And this is speaking to, again, damages that AVANATH shall be responsible for, and prison. They're going to prison, and they're going to prison, again, not getting out. So this is that the impunity of domestic terrorists in this country is going to be met with, if not a prolonged term, a lifetime term for the rest of your life in the way that you sought to take the life of another whom you're gang stalking. All right, amplified booming repeating at 5:37 with simultaneity to uploading the evidence of the images of the gang stalking children who are going to be taken from the custody of the entity. All right, as that evidence of what they decide to engage in is published online, which they know because they're engaged in federal stalking, the amplified booming is occurring. And you know that that's also intentional and that they're also aware of it because a whole fake sun and engineer light is inside of the apartment. Everyone in units 33 through 64, federal prison, mental asylums. This is P.O.C. Okay, I just want to make sure that to note again, I want to recite again the license plate of the predators that are gang stalking via children. And this is the maintenance of ongoing monitoring in order to monitor now evidence. So this is, again, this is what they were doing with their kids during the sunset. In concert with the Ontario police, that they had their kids pacing in the parking lot, monitoring evidence, stalking in the path, while they're engaged in what is keeping my devices under surveillance. So this is the same family. I want to recite it again. Everyone knows the demon in Unit 55. Everybody knows her license plate. Everybody, there is no surprise. These people are so heavily documented. They're going to prison. And as you listen to this, you can recall their license plate. I do that on purpose. They are going to federal prison. Well, they're going to a mental asylum specifically. And I want to be clear, monitoring evidence and doing so, speaking to the ongoing knowledge of about your terrorism being documented. And this is the state interfering with the federal case. The government's being prosecuted while I'm documenting its co-defendant, the people. But the entity is doing so via children. License 9CZC059 is pacing and engineer light using children as a means of audible activity to monitor the evidence. And this is built into gang stalking by residents. And so they like to do so with their kids while they're using their kids to engage in a sex offense. Yeah, these predators are engaging in the pattern of conduct and they will be taken to mental asylum, all of them over 18. And that's all of them. The father, I guess, the patriarch of the demons in Unit 41, who worked for AVANATH, and then I'm guessing these are all his demon-possessed children. They're all failures in life, and they're passing that on to their children who are gang stalking at the ripe, bold ages. These look like toddlers, and they're gang stalking with their parents. They're going to be taken from their custody while they're engaging in sexual violence via their children and federal stalking via their children. They're engaged in stalking under the Violence Against Women Act via their parents, and they are also engaging in what is obstruction of justice. These people have these kids engaging in very serious federal offenses, and this is why they're losing custody of them. But nonetheless, license 9CZC059. These are the reasons why the entity is gang stalking by residents. This is what is built into the pattern of conduct. It's also relevant to psychological torture, where the ordinary target individual is not able to relate to and suspecting strangers that they can't really prove and they're not sure, but they are subject to what they would not have the term for, a pattern of conduct amongst people that they don't know. And the psychopaths look to the left and right like nothing's happening. They will even use children in that psychological means of that psychological manner of targeting. And in the same way that they want to weaponize children, you're taking those children. Because those same children, they will sexually violate those children. They will physically abuse those children in the same way that they're abusing them by gang stalking through them. That's abuse. All right. And they're torturing and targeting somebody else. You don't actually care for those children. And that is an absurd level of showing the obsession with the targeted individual as well. All right. And it is currently 5:43 p.m. So I just want to make sure I recite their license plate again. This whole gang stalking household, they're going to be taken down by the feds. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it is so serious. And it's actually literally what justice requires here. This is what I'm documenting on an ongoing basis. This is exactly what Alvarado Gardens were engaging in, sitting at home collecting welfare checks.
Doing so, not just the young people that are sitting at home collecting welfare checks with no job and popping out child after child. It was also the elderly sitting out at Alvarado Gardens, gang stalking with the city of Los Angeles under a fake sun and the LAPD while they could not pay their rent, and they're gang stalking with their kids, collecting checks by their kids as well. There's so much with regard to the operation of law and the abuses that are facilitated by the government that's essentially funding domestic terrorism while gang stalking is underway. All right. But nonetheless, I want to make sure that I point this out. It's currently 5:44 p.m. while the fake sun and engineered light remains at Woodside Senior Apartments. And it is the environment where the use of children of the demons in Unit 41 are engaging in that P.O.C. in order to interfere with their federal case. That is interfering with a federal case against you, which no state government is going to do. No, but this is what the government's doing. You're going to prosecute for it. And they're doing it through the unemployed. They're doing it through the gang stalking families at Woodside Senior Apartments. And the entity at Woodside, they're all state actors. None of these are private citizens. This is P.O.C. All right, ongoing monitoring psychological torture by the demons who are gang stalking continuously and gang stalking while they are being prosecuted for it at the same time. That's regarding impunity and the prolonged sentence to federal prison for all the defendants gang stalking by residents in units 33 through 64 and gang stalking, which also includes the employees, including Unit 41, but also the demons, including Linda Reyes, who are going to federal prison as well. And the entity is gang stalking. As you'll see in the images that I took, my physical location is inside of the kitchen. The impossible light activity, the engineered light, the specific environment remains at nightfall. That's how I'm able to capture the gang stalking at night, and you have the same exact light activity, which is, again, upright shadows that are magnified in size. When I'm standing up, I'm looking at my life size of my own shadow in front of me like another person would be. That's the same exact impossible light activity during the day when you're looking at the prop over all these demons who are going to prison, gang stalking. So what you can hear in the background, that's the microwave. And so while I'm in the kitchen and I open and close the microwave, that creates audible activity and light activity. And so it's like flashing of light conduct, opening and closing it with simultaneity. These are the demons that are monitoring, and they're so obsessed. They're so mentally sick. They are so lost and wicked and obsessed with murdering somebody who is prosecuting. They're not going to accomplish this murder, but acting in furtherance of it nonetheless. While they are doing so in real time being prosecuted, they're going to prison for it while they're monitoring me in the kitchen. And this is what AVANATH Capital Management is going to be also criminally prosecuted for and civilly prosecuted for. So doing so with simultaneity to my opening and closing the microwave, this is how this demon Tracy Banks is monitoring at all times of the day. When you're seeing her on video, when you're listening to her activity creation while I'm recording my podcast, this is the demon that's monitoring inside of an apartment using the devices, the appliances, whatever you have at your disposal. In other words, just like police departments use whatever they have at their disposal, which is, again, speaking to an unlawful threat because they use weapons, they bear badges where they don't have authority under the law. They use things like helicopters and police vehicles, which are representing authority that they don't have under the law, while they're gang stalking you in concert with that population that is engaged in surveillance at the apartment complex, Woodside Senior Apartments. So this is amplified booming that's heard inside of the kitchen. I am taking a picture of my location and what I'm doing in the kitchen while that ongoing criminal interference with quiet enjoyment is underway on behalf of the state that is maintaining surveillance inside of this apartment, which is a sex offense that the government's going to be prosecuted for, a sex offense that AVANATH Capital Management is going to be prosecuted for, a sex offense that all the demons that are willing to go to federal prison. That's how psychotic and obsessed the demon possessed are, who are gang stalking me, and they are remaining in all 144 units. Well, they're going to be prosecuted under the Violence Against Women Act as well. All right, this is speaking to severe mental illness to sacrifice so much in order to gang stalk. In doing so, ordinarily, this is what the state of California is typically engaging in against people who are not able to speak out about it, who don't have evidence to prove it, who are criminally defamed by this same entity that's entirely mentally sick and entirely engaged in stalking. They are stalking as strangers. They are stalking and are obsessed. Understand, stalking is born of obsession. This obsession is based on the fact that they're all demon possessed, and the demonic environment is the evidence of their demon possession. And as you are aware, the specific environment is also evidence of the stalking that is underway by a facilitating venue masquerading as a private residential neighborhood, a private residence itself, which Woodside Senior Apartments is not. Nonetheless, this is speaking to the P.O.C. Ongoing monitoring inside. They were monitoring the genitalia, my genitalia as well, while I walk from the bathroom, and then I walk into the kitchen. So this is denoting bathroom monitoring as well. This is, again, sex offenders that are residing in unit number 41. They're pacing under the fake sun, monitoring me at all times, not just at that moment when I'm using my communication device in the living room. They're also in custody of minor children, monitoring my genitalia, obsessed with everything that I'm doing, including the most minute activities such as opening and closing a microwave, where you're taking opportunity to fill this apartment because you're psychologically torturing in furtherance of committing murder while you are simultaneously being prosecuted. Okay, this is speaking to sex offenders who will be removed from having access to children, whom they are a threat to when you're monitoring the genitalia of the neighbor whom you're targeting. All right, those sex offenders, those gang stalkers, they show the threat that they are to those kids while they're gang stalking my genitalia in the apartment across from them, stalking in the path, obsessed with me, which the amplified noise, the engineer light is the direct evidence of. And every gang stalking household in custody of children is likewise going to be removed from having access to them in custody over them. Okay, the demon in unit number 55, license 5WUB 715. Okay, this elder, unemployed, a demon, is gang stalking by residents and is not the natural explanation for what is amplified booming. This is somebody who was identified by residents, however, and is going to a, not prison, she's going to a mental asylum. All right, and the entity is doing so as an entire apartment complex, which is nothing other than the venue where the city of Ontario, the state, is maintaining criminal surveillance via this apartment complex, at this apartment complex. Okay, so just want to make sure that all that's clear. This is also shown through my location in the kitchen. I took pictures. Where am I at when the amplified noise is happening? What am I doing? I'm operating the microwave, which is creation of elements of monitoring as well. And doing so while you're being gang stalked, while I'm just heating up food in the microwave. This is how both psychotic and pathetic the demon possessed are who are gang stalking. And they're doing this because they are engaged in a calculated system of targeting someone that they plan to murder. And that ongoing engagement in that P.O.C. is speaking to the prosecution of the state of California, and everybody at Woodside is being prosecuted, and everybody at Woodside in units 33 through 64 and who are currently employed by AVANATH at Woodside are going to prison and mental asylums. It's 8:56 p.m. Documentation of impunity, obstruction of justice, malice, mental illness is also being exhibited by the entity that is gang stalking while it's being prosecuted at the same time. This is P.O.C.